these are lines here, guys. These are the lines of each country, and this little square here is Nepal, okay? And India, this is Bangladesh, and over here it's Pakistan. Okay, I could have showed you that a lot easier in this map. Sorry. And but the interesting thing is, the Himalayas run for 2,500 kilometers all the way along here, and pretty much all of it is India's northern border. So the whole area is just stunning. You have so many different mountains and our different parts of the Himalaya. And the section that we run our trek in is near the western border of Nepal, in an area called Garhwal, or Uttarakhand is the name of the state. Garhwal is the region, and it's a stunning area. It's quite accessible from Delhi. You can get there in kind of a day and a half, which is really good. And it's where the source of the Ganges is. So it's this very spiritually significant river for Hindus, and it's just a fantastic area from a cultural perspective as well. So we do, it's a moderate trek with 5 to 6 hours trekking per day. Okay, so similar in difficulty to Machu Picchu, which you've done. And it's actually a 13-day itinerary, guys. There's 12 there. That's I need to update this slideshow from last year. With 6 days of trekking. We've added an extra day for kind of R and rest before we fly back. And then you get to do an optional half day of rafting at the end of the trip. And then the unique thing about this trip is you get to do yoga every day after you finish trekking, which is totally awesome. And you get to do it in some of the most beautiful backdrops in the world, really, I guess. And we have some of our local guides are yoga instructors, and then our international guide who's leading this expedition, Rob, he's a qualified yoga instructor as well. So you'll be well looked after from that perspective. And then obviously you get into the kitchen tent and learn how to cook Indian cuisine if you want to learn that, which is absolutely incredible. If you haven't been to India, like, the food is just stunning. Also, if you're not into cooking, you can just eat the food. There's no pressure there. And the highlight is, I guess, in the actual trek itself is getting to the Quarry Pass, which is not a very high pass. It's only 3,800 meters, but it's the highest point on this trek. And when you reach it, you meet this stunning panorama of 7,000 meter peaks, which is incredible. It's insane. So I'll show you a little bit about that. And there's time for shopping at the end, which is very important. So guys, the first 3 days, so all of our trips include international flights from Dublin. Okay, so we fly with KLM via, I think it's KLM, it's a one-stop itinerary, Dublin to Amsterdam and then into Delhi. Okay. And when we get to Delhi, we get straight on a private coach and we go into New Delhi railway station and we take a train to Haridwar, which is the foothills of the mountains. So we go straight in and out of Delhi. Delhi is, I love Delhi. It's one of the most intense cities in the world, but you won't mind missing it, okay? This is the center of Delhi here. It's really, really cool. And this is just outside Haridwar. This is just outside Haridwar. This is the Ganges as it's coming out of the mountains. Okay, it's just about it's about 1,500 kilometers from the sea here, but the elevation is only about 200 meters. So it's done most of its dropping already from the glacier. Haridwar and Rishikesh are very spiritually significant sites for Hindus, and they have huge festivals here each year. Including the Kumbh Mela. It's not every year, every 12 years it's in Haridwar, and they just get over 20 million people come for festival there. So it's totally insane. That is not on when we're on the trek, because it would be an absolute nightmare to try and move around then. But we are trekking during Diwali, which is the Festival of Lights, which is going to be really awesome. So we then, when we get to Rishikesh, we drive out just outside town. We stay in a jungle camp. And the next day we drive for a full day through the mountains to get to the trailhead to a little village called Ghat. And it's really, really interesting. You can see from the pictures here, you're passing all kinds of different things. It's just an attack on the senses as India, and a really cool experience. This is a town called Ruchbarag. This is the Bhagirathi River coming in here on the left, and this is the Alaknanda on the right. This is actually the source of the Ganges. Okay, most rivers, like in Ireland, has a source, a little spring in the mountains. But the Ganges starts where these two rivers meet. Okay, this is a really famous site. There is another spot that has spiritual significance up at the glacier, but this is the actual starting point of the river. So you can see that the baths here for people just get in for a bit of a wash. The Ganges is cool, guys, because when you get in the water, it washes away all your sins, which is really nice. It's a really handy way of getting rid of sins, you know. So you'll have that experience when we go rafting on the second last day of the trip. So the first, guys, the trek, what I would say to you is, if you're looking at the itinerary, I'm going to send you out an info pack tomorrow. You can see the elevation gain on it. It's fairly steady, you know, like it looks like we're kind of cruising along. There's lots of valleys in between that, okay? It's deceptive. We're not trying to trick you there. It's just the way it's written. So you're basically cruising through villages, up on mountain paths. It's stunning. And when you get up to the higher ground, you get views of snowy peaks, and you come back down through villages again. It's really, really beautiful. On the trek, I'm going to talk to you guys about gear, but we'll be using horses and donkeys to carry everything, okay? And you guys just need carrying a small backpack to each day on the trek. Yeah. Yeah, this is just typical views you'll get from the trail, guys, and you get to see local people just going about their daily lives. Most of the villages here are just they just get power from solar and things like that, so it's really, really unique. It's kind of a step back in time. All the irrigation channels are really interesting to see as well. This is some of the views of the mountains. Yep. Lots of, on the higher ground, we go through pine forests and meadows. It's really awesome, yeah. Okay, so then the second 3 days of the trek, guys, the second last day is where we go up over the pass. So it's a fairly, you know, it's not like steep as in it's not scrambling or anything like that, but it's a good solid pull for about 2 to 3 hours to get up to the pass. Our trek last year, they had a lot of snow, unseasonal snow. They still managed to get up there no problem. And allegedly they saw a bear as well, but it's unconfirmed. If we think it could have been a big dog as well, but I wasn't on the trip, so I can't comment. So this is the Quarry Pass here, guys. It's kind of hard to see. There's a little sprinkle of snow here, but the trail just goes up there. But it's a walk, okay? There's nothing tough about it. And then this is the views from the top, which are absolutely stunning. So it's a full like panorama of the Himalayas. And I suppose one thing I didn't touch on this trek, comparatively to something like Everest Base Camp or Annapurna or a lot of the other Himalayan treks, you get so much less people here, which is a huge advantage of it, okay? And obviously you're camping every night as opposed to staying in tea houses in Nepal. Yeah, and this is the walk down from the pass. It's just incredible. And then we camp here. This is our last campsite, which is just a little meadow, and you just have the whole day to see the mountains, providing it's clear. We don't guarantee the weather, but in October it's pretty good. Yeah, and this is just to give you an idea of our camps, guys. So you're sharing a 2-person tent, quite a large 2-person tent, and then this is our dining tent where we have meals, and the kitchen tent is off to the other side. So when the following day, the 6th day, we walk down to Pipicolt, and that's our trail. We drive for about 2 hours to our hotel, and then the following day we drive for a full day to get back to Rishikesh. And then the next day you guys have the option of going whitewater rafting. It's included in the price. I'd highly recommend it. It's a big volume, really fun, safe river. And then we come back up to the camp, and then the next day then you have a morning free. If you want to do a high ropes course, you can in the trees. And then just after lunch, we start driving down back to Hardware to take the train to Delhi. It takes about 4 hours, same train we took up. And then we go directly out to the airport, and we take a kind of 2 o'clock in the morning flight out of Delhi. It gets us back into Dublin the next day at the early afternoon. Okay, so it's 13 days. We used to, up till this year, we had it was a day shorter. It was just 12 days. So after we finished rafting, we went straight to the airport, but this is better. It gives you a bit more time to chill out. Yeah, so this is the Ganges as well, guys. You can see the high water mark here, okay? So in monsoon, how big the river goes, it's incredible. And this is just a typical kind of class 3 rapid you'd find on the Ganges. You don't have to have previous experience to go rafting. We give you a full safety brief in the morning, so you've nothing to worry about. Just enjoy it really. And then when we actually get off, finish rafting just above Rishikesh, so you can go and explore the ashrams and do some shopping. It's a lot less intense than Delhi as well. It's a really nice place to just do a little bit of shopping and then escape back up to the jungle camp for one more night. Yep. And yeah, so typical day on the trek, guys. Okay, so it'll fluctuate depending on who. I don't know how intense Rob is, whether he's very strict like me when I'm guiding or not. But typically you get woken up around 6, and then you have come out of your tent packed and ready to go for 7, and we have a full spread for breakfast. So it could be typically be like pancakes, French toast, eggs, maybe scrambled eggs or omelette, porridge. There'll be cornflakes, tea, coffee. And you'll get going, and depending on the length of the day, we'll give you a packed lunch, or we'll have lunch in the next camp. Okay, and then lunch and dinner are quite similar. I mean, what you'll get, but dinner you get a little bit more. It's just more extravagant. So dinner is maybe soup, popcorn, and then you have rice, roti, which is like naan. You get you get dal, which is a lentil-based stew. We'll usually have chicken as well, and you'll get a kind of a yogurt-based dish as well. And then we'll have dessert, which could be anything from like tin fruit to banana clusters. The food is incredible in India. I can't recommend the food enough. It's absolutely awesome. If you have any dietary requirements, we can accommodate that. That's no problem. India is a great place to be a celiac or a vegan or anything like that. You're in heaven. So what was I saying? Yeah, so usually we get to camp around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, depending on the length of the day. And then you are free in the afternoon just to go for a walk or relax, read your book, or come out and chat to your fellow trekkers or local staff. It's really, really nice, and everything is very, very simple. There's nothing for you guys to worry about. And then the Rob will give you, the expedition leader will give you a brief in the evening, and just basically he'll be saying we're going to be doing roughly the same thing again tomorrow, guys, and that'll be it. Very simple. Yeah, and yoga, again, if you want to do yoga, my top tip for yoga is if you're worried that you're not very good at yoga, don't worry about it. That'll be it, really. It's an introduction to yoga. You don't have to be a pro or anything. Just go and have an absolutely awesome time, set you up perfectly for the next day of trekking. Yeah, and lots of tea, guys. Lots of tea in India, chilling out, hanging about. It's really, really nice. It's a fantastic trip. You also get to meet locals along the way. Some of the little villages we pass will have very small basic shops, which are really interesting to go in and see. And you'll see people just farming and just doing different things, which is absolutely fab. And this is the lunch spot just after the pass. So it's just incredible. There's nobody else around. It's a really super trip. Yep, and the dining tent. And we get to have fires on this trek as well. A lot of more busy treks like Machu Picchu, Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, there's either no trees or it's not allowed because you're in a forest. So here we can, if you're energetic when we get to camp, we can send you off looking for firewood as well. But it's really nice to have a campfire. The only thing is, you're not really washing your clothes yourself, so you get a bit of a stink on, but it doesn't really matter as long as everyone is sitting around the fire at the same time. Anyway, the weather, guys. So you could expect temperatures that time of year to kind of be anywhere from the late teens to the mid 20s during the day. And then depending on the elevation of the camps, it could get down to about 0, maybe slightly below freezing. It's not really extreme temperatures at all comparative to other trips that we do. The highest camp is around 3,200 meters. So I'm going to chat to you guys about sleeping bags and gear you need, but I'm also going to send you a full equipment list tomorrow. So it's very manageable from a cold perspective, and it's actually really nice. It gets quite warm most of the time. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's a question for later, but do you need actual hiking boots, or will trail boots do?
Trail boots will do. Yeah, you could use trail boots on this trek. I'll chat to you guys about equipment in a little more detail at the end. So guys, Diwali, the Festival of Lights, is on the 27th of October. So that's 2 days after we arrive. So that will be in full swing. So everybody will be in party mode. It's not like St. Patrick's Day in Ireland where you're worried for your life in Dublin. It's a lot more or less intense than that. And it's just fantastic. Super time to be in India to see that. As I mentioned, we include international flights in our packages. If you wanted to extend your stay and stay on in India afterwards by yourself, you can do that. You just need to get in touch with us as soon as possible. We can change the return date of your flight, but there is a lot to do. some of the best wildlife in the world is in India. I'm pretty close to where we're trekking, to be honest. Ranthambore National Park is the best place to spot tiger in the world. That's about I think it's about 3 hours by train from Delhi, so you could easily nip down there after the trek. This is from Jim Corbett National Park. It's the second oldest national park in the world. You also have the option to fly down south to Goa or Kerala and sit on a beach if that's your thing. And obviously you got the Taj Mahal if you want to go see that. That can be done in a day, or you can do a golden triangle, which is Delhi, Jaipur and Agra, where the Taj Mahal is. But it's incredible to see that, guys. If you're in India and you're not planning on going back, it's worth spending the time to see it. So fitness and training. It's very difficult for me to give you exact advice because you all have a different level of fitness. But if, as a general rule, if you're comfortable to walk for 6 to 7 hours in the Irish hills at a slow pace, 2 days in a row, you'll be fit enough for this trek. Okay, you don't need to be super duper fit. So that would be the kind of a good barometer of where you're at. If you're new to hiking or you haven't done any before, just keep working away in the gym, try and get some cardiovascular strength work done, and join a hiking club and get out and try and get walking. We can recommend some for you if you contact the office, but that'll be the best way to get fit. As I said, any kind of cardiovascular or strength training will help, and really enjoy the training. You know, it's not till October, so if you're signing up soon, gives you something to aim towards. We run pre-departure weekends ahead of all of our events. They happen 2 months before departure, and they're in Glendalough and Wicklow, which is about an hour's drive south of here. So you'll meet one of our expedition leaders and doctors, and they'll go through a full brief on the expedition, and then they'll also take you out for a training hike on Saturday and then another one on Sunday. So you get to meet some of the people going on your trip, and get to ask lots of questions from an expert, and we can look at your equipment as well, make sure it's suitable if you're unsure about anything. These are just a fun weekend, okay? It's not a fitness test. We don't do bleep tests or anything like that. You're not asked to run up and down a hole or anything. It's very relaxed. We sometimes get people a bit nervous ahead of these events, and there's really no need. It's just out hiking. And you still have like 8-9 weeks to go if we're recommending you do a little bit more training. You have time to bring your fitness up a little bit.